to day 14 of the 100 Days of Python Coding Challenge, coding along with me. And if you want to access the entire index of the coding challenge, you can go to bmosley.com/HDP. And there you can also find the downloadable sample code for the beginning and end of the project. So all of those resources are available there. Let's jump into today's project. So for today's project, we're going to do a guessing game, a number guessing game. And we have already done a number guessing game. But if you remember, this is it right here. If you participated in the earlier challenge, this number guessing game allows you to make one guess and then the game ends. So that is entertaining, perhaps, but ultimately not very good as far as games go because it's over so fast. You get one guess and that's it. So today we're going to implement what's called a for loop. And a for loop allows you to iterate through a list or a range. And that means that you can do something with each value in a list of values. And so we're going to use that to give the player in this game multiple guesses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this code that I had before. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to put that in a new file. And if you want to go back to day 11, you can get a detailed review of all of this code. But I'm just going to move on from here using this as a starting point. And so what I want to do is I want to give the player 3 attempts to guess the correct number. And so I'm going to throw a line break at the beginning of that just to give myself a little bit more white space. And in between those two lines, so after line 11, I am going to add a new line of code, and I am going to call it int guess, and I'm going to say for int guess in range 1, 4. And what this does is it creates range. The range function creates a list, and that list will include the numbers 1, 2, and 3. Now, the reason it says 1, 4 is because it stops prior to that. So it does not include the 4 at the end of it. It includes 1, 2, and 3. Now, another way that I could do this if I wanted to is I could use an array instead of a range, and I could run this using 1, 2, 3 like this, and that's just a list of numbers. And we haven't really gotten into lists yet, so I'm not going to go into detail what that means or how it works or why it is what it is. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm just going to use the range that I set up here, just knowing that that range includes the numbers 1, 2, and 3. So whatever happens, whatever is done in this loop, whatever is in the indented part of this loop will be done. And for each time that it's done, int guess will equal 1 the first time, 2 the second time, and 3 the third time. So that gives us our 3 guesses. And so what we're going to do here is we are going to indent all of this. And what that does is it will go through all of this, like I said, 3 times. And so each time the person guesses, it will tell them your guess was too high or too low. Or if they guess the secret number, it will tell them that they guessed the secret number. So that's a good start. But what I'd like to do also is before it asks them for the guess, I want it to print which guess they're on. So it's going to say guess number and then we'll put int guess in there. So the first time it'll say guess number 1, the second time it'll say guess number 2, then the third time it'll say guess number 3. So that's kind of nice. And then when it's done, it will say when it's done all 3 guesses, it will tell them the secret number, and I'll thank them for playing. Now, what I would like to do also is if they guess the secret number, like on the first guess, we want the loop to exit. There's no reason for them to do 2 more guesses after that. So I'm going to put a break in here. If you remember that from last time, that exits the loop immediately right here. And so that's useful. And then there's one more thing I want to do here. I want to say if int guess equals 3. So in other words, if they get past this point and they haven't guessed it correctly, because remember, break exits the loop here. So even if they guess it on the 3rd try, it's going to skip this. If int guess equals 3, then I'm going to print you didn't guess my number. And now we have kind of a nice little game. And let's give it a shot and see how it works. So it says guess number 1, guess a number between 1 and 20. So strategically, I'll go with 10. My guess was too low. Now guess number 2. I'd kind of like a little space here before we announce guess number 2, but it's working functionally the way I want it to. So it was too low. I'm going to go 15 on the second guess, split the difference there. So now I have my last guess, and I've guessed, I know the number is between 10 and 15. So I've got a 1 in 4 chance of guessing it correctly. Let's go 13. I guessed correctly. I guessed the secret number. The secret number is 13. Thanks for playing my little game. Let's test the opposite occurrence where I don't guess the secret number, and I'll just put the wrong number 3 times. And you can see here that it says you didn't guess my number. So I think what I want to do is I want to put a line break at the end of each feedback line here, just to give it a little bit better formatting. And now let's run that again, just to one more try here. 10, too low, so we go 15. Oh, I guess the secret number on the second try, but now you can see here we've got these spaced out pretty nicely, and overall I'm pretty happy with it. So I could use that, and if I want to change this in one more way here, what I can do here is I can say int no number of guesses. Let's say I want to have 3 guesses. Int number of guesses plus 1. Okay, so that makes sure that if the number of guesses is 3, that this is equal to 4, which gives me the range that I want. So if I wanted to have 5 guesses, let's say, and I wanted the number to be between 1 and 100. Okay, so there it is. Guess a number between 1 and 100. 50, 75. Let's go 64. I'm on guess number 4. That guess was too low. So what's between 64 and 75? We'll go 70. Guess was too low. 73, my last guess. Oh, I was so close. The secret number was 74. So anyhow, that is how we can easily modify the game, the difficulty, the number of guesses, that sort of thing. We can modify the parameters in the game. And if we wanted to, we could even make these random numbers. So we could choose a random number between 1 and 1,000 or whatever, and then choose a number of guesses. We could even create a formula that gives the number of guesses based on the size of the number range. So all kinds of things you can do to tweak the difficulty here. But that is the basics for how we use a for loop to create a number guessing game that has a certain number of guesses.